Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Bad Luck Gamer, and we're live. I'm doing this recording live with chat because we're talking today on Table Talk about the Pathfinder 2E remaster. So I'm joined here by my co-host Alex, who's going to be participating in this video somewhat.
That's me. Hello.
And YouTube or Twitch, you can all say hi in the chat. Everyone can see. You're on YouTube, baby. You're live.
You're all famous now.
You're all famous, and if you're on actual YouTube, it'll take a moment for it to appear here on live. But today's video, we're gonna be talking about the Pathfinder 2E remaster and what that means and why this is a pretty big deal for Pathfinder in general. The title of this video is probably going to be something along the lines of Pathfinder 2E's next big step or anything like that. So, what do we mean by a remaster? Is this like a 0.5? Is this a new edition or anything like that? No. All your old stuff is mostly going to work. And unlike D&D new, or new D&D, whatever they want, or whatever they're trying to call the nonsense they're doing.
Whatever name they're going to land on like a year down from now.
Right. This is much more accurate. Like, whatever you have in the books will still work, and whatever new stuff they're coming out with will so barely interact with anything anyway. So it's not a big deal, but we will get into the few things that will matter here in the new video, or in the new, remaster. So, first and foremost, this remaster is more of like a touch-up. They're eroding some things. They're also moving away. One of the big parts are they're moving away from the OGL. So they're removing anything that could really attach them to the OGL. So they're also removing a lot of the legacy parts of the system that really just don't matter anymore. And a lot of it is just removing clutter. It's just a big errata with a few things that will change the game. And you know what, let's go ahead and talk about what they're releasing. So they're going to be releasing a set of books that are going to be new core books. There's going to be the player core, the GM core, the player core 2, and the bestiary core, which are going to incorporate things from some of the extra books that they've added, in addition to some erratas as well. So this fall season, I believe it's October, they're going to be releasing the player core 1. And what they're doing is they're overall consolidating all the player-centric choices, and they're removing a lot of the GM-based stuff, like the Lost Omens lore bits and the other like game mastery things, and they're moving that to the GM core. They're changing some of the terminology and simplifying some of the wordage, so they're just going to go over with a fine-tooth comb and clear up any misconceptions that might be in the writing, which is super cool.
Always great.
They're also going to be including a new how to play section where they're going to give a much more detailed and exact how to play using some of the good feedback they got from their beginner box, which is pretty sick. One of the big changes are there will no longer be ability scores in the game. We're moving purely to a modifier-based system, so your character will not have an 18, 16, 19, whatever on their character sheets anymore. It'll just be +1, +2, or even maybe a -1. And they will have a new feature or a new thing for the 18+, because when you hit 18, you need 2 boosts to get up to another bonus, essentially. So they're going to have something in plan for that you can do on the character sheets or whatever, which is really good.
Question about that.
Sure.
So they're just removing the big number is the only change to that?
Yeah.
You just keep this? Okay. Okay, that makes sense, I guess.
The pluses aren't going anywhere. None of it mattered. It was mostly just something as a legacy thing from the old games. Like, the only thing it would benefit is 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
But anything below 18, it doesn't matter. It is completely pointless.
Because, all that does is mean if I'm playing Pathfinder with a new player, like brand new to tabletop, I don't have to explain what the big number gives you for the plus number. Because
Yeah.
that was always something weird D&D players I've played with had to wrap their head around.
Alignment is gonna be taken out of the game completely. So this has been a big feature of the game. It's been a big legacy part, but they felt like it was too restrictive for players, and whether you agree with that or not, it has been what's been decided based on a lot of the surveys they've done. And overall, this is going to change some of the core class features, like champions and their specific orders requiring certain alignments, or clerics and their gods, certain alignment requirements. And instead, it's going to be something more heavily reinforced with like the anathema and the edict sections, like champion already has. So your characters will have to follow certain kinds of rules, and they might even expand those a little bit now. But alignments are no longer going to mean anything. And speaking on that, there's no longer good and evil damages. Instead, they're going to go for a holy or unholy thing for certain types of creatures. So if you're fighting a creature made of evil, it's going to be an unholy creature. And if you're, a cleric or something, you'll have spells that do holy damage. The core book is going to include all the core races, all the core classes, everything like that. They're not really going to be changing all too much on that end. And another kind of big, but not really big thing, they're changing spell levels to spell ranks. So there's no longer spell levels, it's spell ranks. It makes it easier to translate to the player what a spell level is compared to like a player level, for instance.
Yeah, I saw a tweet of that one talking about that this just makes it easier for people to understand. So a lot of this, just from hearing this rundown, feels like it's a lot of decisions that, like, we're changing the names of stuff. We're readjusting how this is done. But it doesn't sound like anything fundamentally is going to change. Just some things are going to have different words for them.
The biggest thing is the removal of alignments.
Yeah.
Because that does interact directly with certain feats and abilities. And they're going to have to go through some of that with a fine-tooth comb to see like what it really affects. And they did state in the official Paizo stream that they did on Twitch that for characters where alignment means more, those characters will still have options in things that affect alignment in a way that allows them to still interact with it in the game. They also stated as well, there's a little note here, that rogues are going to have access to all martial weapons now, which is awesome.
That's
really good.
Cool.
And wizards are now going to get all simple weapons. And they're just pretty much removing any of these specific weapon things from like core classes, because that was a very big legacy thing that they had before. Exactly what it changes or how much, it's really hard to say.
I mean, for the wizard, having a simple weapon doesn't feel like it's going to do that much. It's just now you can have a wizard with like a dagger or a staff they could actually beat some ass with, but they're probably not going to be like a new martial character. And unless you find some really cool build.
Fair. And someone did mention in the chat that they're going to be adding some new races to the core races, which is going to be really cool. As to which ones exactly, it's hard to say at this time. Next is going to be the GM core, and this is where a lot of the subsystems, core rules, lore for the world, treasure vault items, and it's going to be a consolidation of a lot of the general rules that kind of spread out through a lot of the other books. They're going to have a much better way to organize treasure in this book, which is going to be really cool.
Oh my god, needed.
Yeah, and as well, they're going to put the free archetype rule, and it's going to be much more like presented because it's one of the more common one. And as well, talismans, if you're interested in talismans, are going to get a bit of an overhaul because they're kind of in magic item that a lot of people forget even exist. So they're going to be being looked at, and they're going to be added with bigger and better effects, or are just not going to have effects that seem kind of meaningless, which is overall pretty cool.
I just realized I'm in that camp. I forget talismans are a thing.
Then next up is the Player Core 2, which is essentially the Advanced Player's Guide. They're completely removing ASMR and Tieflings, as that's another legacy thing, and they're being replaced now with the Nephilim. So you're going to have one kind of mega versatile heritage that's going to have a lot of different feats on it and different kind of feat trees based on if you're like an angelic one, devil one, demon one, what have you. So they're making one kind of mega versatile heritage of the Nephilim. Nulls are going to be changed to Kolo. So they're removing the Null name and adding Kolo into the game, which honestly is not a big deal to me. One of the biggest things about the Core 2 that I'm super excited about is they're also going to be doing some big character erratas for the Witch, Oracle, Alchemist, and Champion. Obviously, Champion with the new alignment changes, it's kind of a foregone one. Alchemist is just going to get a lot of brushing up on some of the new rules they added with Treasure Vaults and with just the stuff they've added in the errata over time. They're just going to kind of tidy it up. Witch and Oracle, they're looking at the overall clunkiness of the classes and how fun it is to play them versus how difficult it can be to play them. And so they're going to be spruced up a bit. And for Witch specifically, they're going to be getting new methods in which they can interact with or deal with their patrons in a way, which I think is very cool. A lot of these features that they're errating are just to make these classes run a little bit smoother, and I think Witch really needs this one because Witch doesn't stand out as far as casters are concerned, because like a wizard can do all the things a witch can do with very little effort besides hex cantrips. And speaking of hex cantrips, actually, the focus point system overall is going to be revised a little bit to make it a little bit easier to implement in your game. So my assumption on what they're going to do with this is they're looking at some of the oddities of like some feats give you focus points while others don't, to just like, okay, all feats will give you a focus point if it has a focus spell in it. And as well, they might change the rest time for it, which I think would be interesting. I'm not sure. There's also, there's a lot of things to theorize about that one, and that might be a whole other video. But they are revising the focus point system to make it easier to implement, which I find is an interesting turn of phrase.
Yeah, I mean, if it works out better for players and flows a lot easier, then hell yeah, mission accomplished.
And that is pretty much it. After that is the Bestiary core, and they're removing some of the legacy monsters like the Otyugh and a lot of others that were pretty much pulled from D&D specifically, but they are implementing new monsters to make up for this. Also, big thing, dragons are getting changed.
Huh.
Because of the whole chromatic and metallic deal. So they're adding a whole bunch more different dragons to kind of change things up. So I think there's a lot going on there. And I think that overall, pretty much, I mean, this video could go on and on if we were to get into the nitty-gritty of every little change. And obviously, I mean, they had a 2-hour stream talking about everything. I don't want to do that for a video here. But just know, the remaster is not going to invalidate anything. Any monsters you have in your games, any alignment stuff you want to do, interact with, you're still going to have rule books for, but they're just not going to be printed in future edition or future versions of the game or core that's coming out. So they can still work, and most of the general features are going to work the same anyway. Anything that works for demons or devils now is going to work in the remaster as well as a lot of the kind of alignment restrictions in a way. Though I do think that this allows you to play different kinds of champions based on your interpretations of like chaotic or lawful or even neutral can be. So
yeah, it seems overall, like it's more changes that are like, this is just going to adjust how it's going forward. If you're mid-campaign, you don't need to readjust and fix your character.
Overall, that's it. They're just sprucing things up, and unlike D&D 5e, there's not going to be really incompatible rules from this version of the game to the remaster. Some feats are going to be reworked, and some feats are going to be made a little bit neater, a little bit nicer. I do think Witch is also going to get just new feats. They're also adding new skill feats as well into, I believe, Player Core 2, which is really, really cool.
Always love new things.
So, this is just a newer, better Pathfinder 2E. It's not really a 0.5 because nothing fundamentally is changing. Most of the core classes are not even getting anything. It's mostly just the classes that had a little bit of clunkiness that are being smoothed out overall. And they're removing a lot of things that tie them to the old OGL. And they're going to be publishing all this new stuff under the new Orc license. So it's just a smart move on Paizo's part, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to. I think classes like the Alchemist and the Witch really do need a little bit of touching up to make it more obvious of people how good these classes can be. And honestly, the more they go their own direction, I think the stronger Pathfinder will be. Okay. So, with all that in mind, that's going to be it for me. Let me know down in the comments if you liked this kind of video, if this was at all distracting for y'all, considering we had chat here and everything, as well as what you want to see in these new remastered core. And as well, please follow us or subscribe down, gonna be down over here. It really helps the channel out. But that's gonna be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck with your games. Leave the bad luck to me. And we'll see y'all next time. Say bye, Alex.
Bye.
Nice.
Did what you told me to do.